Welcome to the Decent Crypto Podcast. Today is Wednesday, August 30th. We are live with our sixth part of our merge series. We're going deep, ladies and gentlemen. Less than 1 month till the merge. Less than 2 weeks till the merge. Matt, how you feeling, brother?
I am psyched. Less than 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, pretty much to the hour until the merge. So it's going off. Today's actually Tuesday, August 30th, and it is happening.
Today is Tuesday.
Welcome to the decent.
Look, Matt. How ableist of you to assume that you're in the Tuesday time zone right now. I'm offended. Brothers and sisters in Japan are not feeling your energy.
I mean, they're also not on Wednesday, August 30th.
We're just gonna move on.
I'm so excited. The merge is happening in about 2 weeks, pretty much to the day. So it's gonna happen. Right now, according to whenmerge.com, should happen around 5 p.m. East Coast time on Tuesday, September 13th.
Okay.
And that sort of brings, I would say, a necessary question, which is when merge party?
When merge party? Well, we have part one of the merge party set, which is the fact that we have stickers now. Stickers now. Can't see that. We have stickers now. It's just like all you need, right? You need a venue. Maybe you can just do it in the street. You need stickers. You need stuff to drink. Yeah, that's it. You know, like we're basically there.
We're gonna meet in Central Park and pass out stickers and drinks. Is that our merge party?
That's the merge party. That is the merge party. Vitalik is coming. That's when he tells everybody on the Twitter Spaces live, like now merge. You know, everyone's asking when merge. Now merge. So that's what's gonna happen. End of the episode. Thanks for tuning in. That's the merge. See, just kidding. Okay, Matt.
Let's break down the merge block by block. So here, Vitalik says, "All right, guys. Time to merge," and then the merge happens.
And then he pours 85% tea and 15% red wine.
Oh man, are we gonna have to? Does every merge party have to have this by default?
Yes.
This is
for the
Vitalik's
listener,
favorite for the
drink.
uninformed listener who doesn't follow Vitalik. Actually, I don't even think I do. This is Vitalik's favorite drink. He said, "I don't usually drink much alcohol," or did he say alcohol stuff?
Yes,
but when I do, 85%, 15% green tea, red wine in that ratio is underrated. This is
not only Kobe, of course, came back and was like, "This seems kind of bearish to me," and of course, it was completely nuked.
It was like right as the market went from like, I think ETH went from like 3K to like 2,200 like that weekend.
Yeah, pretty much. Real quick, there is an actual like merge party giveaway thing, like giveaways, and like Ethereum Foundation is giving away like $1,000 to people who want to host merge parties. We haven't been given our grant yet, so A, flagging that. B, if anybody else is interested, you're hosting your own merge party. Click that link. If we remember, we'll add it to the show notes. Anyways, Matt, what happened this week? Part 6, let's go.
Let's get a little more serious here. Let's go into the dark side a little bit, because we have an open letter from the Ethereum Proof of Work core developers, an open letter to the Ethereum community. As we know, community, the most overused word in crypto. Like, who is the Ethereum community? It's just Coinbase at this point, right? It's you and me. It's us and our listeners.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so when you say open letter to the Ethereum community, who is this open letter from?
This is from the Proof of Work Ethereum core developers. So just rewinding a little bit, like in order to like really have like a reasonable proof of work based Ethereum, you have to like make a couple of changes. You have to change like the chain ID. You have to like remove like the difficulty bomb. All those things are coming from a group that call themselves Ethereum POW. And there's a Twitter account. I think it's Ethereum POW_core, which is like the core developers. Generally blockchains have like a group of core developers. Like there's a, all core devs call for Ethereum. There's like Bitcoin core developers, right? So this is from the Proof of Work Ethereum core developers.
And are they different than the like Ethereum core developers? Because right now Ethereum is Ethereum proof of work, right? Like Ethereum is a proof of work chain. So are these like new developers that have come in? Are they old developers that have decided that they want to stay on the proof of work side? Are they people that have gone to the dark side? Like what exactly? Where did this community come from?
We don't know because they're anons.
Okay.
And so like I think generally you could kind of assume that they're not the same as standard Ethereum core developers. They're probably just like people that are either working for miners or hired by miners or you know, in some way, shape, or form affiliated with miners, because those are the people that have the interest to like keep this thing going. And so it's probably just like Chandler Glow in a closet, like we, the Ethereum core developers.
Right. Yeah. So that was my point, is like, we don't really know the validity of their statements or really even who they are. Right.
Look, who's to say the validity of anyone or anything in crypto, right? Like it's social consensus. And you know, like I think the level of validity is, I want to say that this community has already like or whoever's behind this open letter, probably the same entity that like created like the pull requests to like change the chain ID, for example,
right,
or whatever. And so I think there's like an air of validity to that in the sense of like they're actually doing stuff. And anyone that does tell, you know, social consensus, decentralized, if you're doing stuff, then you count.
Okay. So do you want to get into the open letter?
Yes. So the letter itself I found pretty interesting. So it starts with a grammatical error. The ETHW has been controversial, to say the least, in the past few weeks. I think just ETHW. The ETHW core feels compelled to clarify a few points. So,
but that's the thing. He's talking about the core, bro. The core.
The core.
ETHW is just a descriptor.
I see. Okay. Who are the core developers? The ETHW core developers, or the ETHW core members, are geeks and crypto investors from all over the world who believe in proof of work. It was this belief that rallied the believers into a community where members volunteered to work on ETHW. So they're really pitching themselves as like anons here that are like relatively like crypto native, like geeky anons. And they're trying to sort of like pitch themselves as being like the everyday cypherpunk, you know, not those like ivory tower academics like Vitalik.
They're comparing themselves to the cypherpunks that came before and eventually ended up building Bitcoin.
Yeah,
that's like what they're framing themselves as.
Yeah, that's the idea. And so, they're effectively. I mean, they even say like, we're anonymous as a precaution against our wealthy and powerful enemies and their lobbyist friends in DC. So they're going real populist with this, but they're trying to throw like a Bitcoin spin on it. And I think they kind of have to, right? Because like, you know, like obviously like proof of work is kind of energy intensive. So I've heard, and so you kind of lose like a lot of the like more liberal, like hippy dippy types when you're standing against like a change that will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by like 99%.
Yeah.
So bit of a lobbyist bend there. And so then they ask the question, what is the rationale behind ETHW Core's efforts? What do you think of this section? Did you read it?
Yeah, I think I think they're basically making the argument that I laid out on this podcast a few weeks ago, which is basically that if things go the way that they look like they might be going with OFAC sanctioning Tornado Cash and, you know, maybe big groups like FTX folding and things like that, right? That there could be a chance that this proof of stake chain in the future becomes like or there are two different versions of the proof of stake chain, where there's a regulated chain and then there's a tornado chain, which is just like the Wild West, right? And, you know, that was my thesis on how things would play out. Since then, there's been a lot of, I guess, activity, a lot of responses from all the parties involved really on how they're going to push back on that. And so maybe that's been invalidated. But that was the thesis that I laid out, which is that, you know, if things go the way they're going right now and the kind of capture or like the centralization points are these big regulated institutions in the United States, then that could lead to that split, right? That's kind of the argument they're making right here, is that with the proof of stake fork, it opens itself up to this like regulatory capture, basically, where the companies that are supporting the chain are subject to these rules, and it creates this like compliant kind of version of the chain. And like proof of work will in its like it'll maintain the current form of the chain, which is not that.
And so why is it important that, like, why does proof of stake open this door?
Yeah, I mean, proof of stake, it basically opens the door. Okay, I would say it doesn't open the door. It changes the door, right? It rather than with like the point that we're really talking about here is centralization, right? Where are the centralization points in proof of work, and where are the centralization points in proof of stake, right? In proof of work, you need this. What you need is capital, right? You need the more machines that you can get, the cheaper electricity that you can get, the higher your profit margins will be. Like the more money you'll make, the more kind of power you have, or the more percentage of the validation pool you own, right? Or the block production pool that you own, right?
Yeah.
So
it really
the
is
centralization points. Yeah, so the centralization points become the people with access to machines, capital, cheapest energy, things like that. If somebody did want to shut those things down, it would be hard, but it wouldn't be impossible, right? Like if you're running a massive data center somewhere, like the jurisdiction that you're in, the energy grid that you're on, they kind of know that, right? Like they're able to pick that out. If somebody really wants to stop you, it might be a little harder because it's physical stuff that they need to stop or like take down or whatever. And, whatever, I don't know anything about physical security. But yeah, that's really the centralization vector, right? Is these big,
I mean, we saw this in China, right? Like when China banned Bitcoin mining, like last summer, it was kind of clear that like, there were a lot of centralization points at that point. And a lot of the bullish narrative behind like Bitcoin's price recovery thereafter was that like hash power started coming back online. And so even like a nation state like China completely banning mining, where like a lot of mining activity was happening, didn't change the ability of the Bitcoin network to function.
Yeah, exactly. And it went through that momentary, drop in price. And then you saw a lot of stuff coming back to like North Dakota, Texas, also places in Europe, and people that had the capital were able to come in, buy those machines on the cheap, and get back online, right? Now, the argument that people make with proof of stake is that the centralization points, because there's a minimum amount that you have to stake, right, it becomes much more advantageous or much easier, really, for any normal person to stake through a third party like Coinbase, like Lido, like Kraken, and let them manage the stake for you. And so what the argument that people make is that these now become the centralization points, and they are way easier to shut down because they are regulated institutions in the United States, specifically like Coinbase and Kraken, at least, where Lido is, I think, domiciled in Switzerland or whatever. That is the thing that concerns most people, right? Is that these Coinbase is a public company, Kraken is a private company, but still has to abide by U.S. law. Now, that's a whole different game that you're in. It's just not just you have a bunch of machines running in a data center somewhere, like, and you can go to another jurisdiction. It might be hard. It might cost you a lot of money, but you can at least exit, right? With this, Coinbase has no exit. Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, has said that if we get this kind of pressure from authorities, we're just going to shut down our service, right? We will no longer provide these staking services. For the betterment of the network, but also because legally they have to. So that's the argument people make. You can, and they can be put under pressure not just to shut down, but also to start and the reason that they would shut down is to start doing things like censoring certain transactions, not allowing certain wallets or certain people to have access to the network. We talked exactly about how that would work, the functions of how they would be censoring transactions, how they would actually, do all of that in our last episode. But that's kind of the possibility there.
Yeah. I think there's one more angle or like dimension of centralization on proof of stake that I didn't, at least like I kind of underappreciated. So I think it's worth talking about, which is just like the ability to gain entry into the network, right? So if you think about getting started mining blocks on proof of work, you need some kind of computer and you need some kind of electricity, right? Mm-hmm. And like you might not be profitable, but if you wanted to participate, those are the only things you need, and you can participate. Like you can buy them permissionlessly, right? Computers are available, right? Like ASICs are available. You can participate as a block producer permissionlessly. If you think about Ethereum, at least as an American like domiciled person or company, how do you get Ethereum to stake it? You have to go through a centralized exchange. And if for some reason you as an entity meet whatever definition of not allowed to buy Ethereum, then you can no longer participate at all.
Yeah, it's very true. Like if you're a guy from Iran, let's say, how are you even going to get ETH? Very hard.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would assume that like as someone in Iran trying to participate in the network, I would assume there's some kind of way for you to get access. But like as an American, like there's definitely not, right? If you are for whatever reason like an OFAC sanctioned person, or you want to just validate the network the way you see fit. And so the ability to participate permissionlessly, I think, greatly lowers the bar for people who are willing to like validate blocks in a way that doesn't have censorship. Even if it technically becomes the law that like you have to censor transactions that interact with an OFAC sanctioned address, the people could have a way of like, participating against that. It's a little bit like the Second Amendment, right? Like in practice, yeah, like power is fully centralized, right? But in theory, at least the ability for private citizens to own firearms, like, does give you a little tiny bit of a vision of citizens like dissenting, if it got to that point for some reason. Right. And I think you could kind of see that with like people that wanted to like not censor Ethereum transactions. But I don't know. This is kind of a convenient time, right? For ETHW, exactly. Right? Like we were talking about proof of work forking, like a proof of work fork of Ethereum, like months and months and months ago, before Tornado Cash, before any talk of censorship like was like broadly disseminated, right? Like it kind of feels to me like proof of work Ethereum core developers are just kind of like latching on to this narrative, which is like makes sense. It's what I would do. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's hard to tell intent, or just reading a statement. You could be a fantastic writer, especially as an anon. That's why I was like, what's the validity of this thing? I think that the one takeaway I have now is that people are starting to question proof of stake a little bit. We talked about this on the last show too, where everybody just assumed proof of stake is a viable economic model. And yes, it has worked for things like basically every other chain, but those chains have way less decentralization. They have way less contentious parties that want to like exploit the system for their own economic gain. And they don't really have the means for somebody to do that, right? Like Solana will just casually halt the chain. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens on these chains where that prevents people from making a real kind of adversarial attack that they know will stick, and the community will like accept it, right? With ETH, that chance is there, right? So I think this is the first time we're really testing out if proof of stake works in the way that we think it works. And people are also questioning like, well, maybe proof of work had its advantages too. And it definitely does. It definitely does for some things, for some properties, right? And those properties I think are very different, right? Where I think Bitcoin should always stay proof of work. I think there should be changes made to the network and maybe the supply, the issuance, things like that. But to have a non-sovereign asset become something that is like controlled by the biggest stakers, like you said, the entry problem is a massive thing at that point, right? The whole point of the non-sovereign currency is that nobody can tell you when or how to enter and exit, right? If that ever happens, like it's gonna create this massive kind of capture mechanism. With Ethereum, if the idea is to be able to have this like unstoppable, like, you know, whatever it is, like world computer ability to interact with any kind of contract and, you know, do all these different things, like I don't necessarily know that needs to be built on a proof of work system, you know. I think it would be great. The more I think about it, I think it's great that there are going to be two chains. And I think it creates the maximum amount of kind of, you know, I mean, this is like capitalism, right? So I think it's great. I think we're going to see some interesting stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say whether, you know, what the intent here is really.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. It's good that this is happening. It's good to have more diversity, right? Because it just creates like better dynamics around survival, right? And fitness and evolutionary like fitness, right? I think it's good that I think Bitcoin can only work on proof of work, right? Because its core value proposition is decentralization. And I think for Ethereum, I think it would be good for the world to have like one commonly used like proof of work driven smart contract blockchain. Like Turing complete, that's all you need, right? I don't think you need I don't think you need a lot more than that. And I think what'll really interest me is like, what will the market cap ratios of ETHW and ETH Classic look like? Like, what's going to be each of their respective captures of that market for people that want to ascribe value to a proof of work like smart contract system?
Yeah, I mean, you got to assume that ETH Classic ends up winning out, right? I mean, I think that in the beginning Classic, stages,
not ETHW.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, ETHW, yeah, for sure. I think in the beginning, ETHW makes a big run because it has these big supporters, whoever they are, and takes a bunch of, it takes a big portion of the market cap. And then ETH Classic makes a comeback because people are like, well, this thing has existed forever. Like, why are we building a new one? Like, it's literally, this is the original chain, block zero. Like, this is how it started.
I mean,
so yeah.
Yeah, like, it's true. Like, it didn't go through like a hard fork the way that the DAO fork happened, right? But I mean, there's a reason that that's like disadvantageous, right? Like, the more,
are you saying like that the supply of the tokens that are
in the tokens? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And and I mean, ETH Classic has undergone a bazillion 51% attacks over the years. It's it's a shit chain, right? Like, as wrecked as like all of DeFi is going to be, at least like the core primitives still exist on ETHW. And moreover, like, here's the thing. I was going to hit on this as like a separate talking point. Maybe it's a good lead in. We have a testnet for ETHW now. I don't know if ETH Classic has a testnet or not. But like,
Barry is a testnet.
We have a testnet, and as part of the testnet, what you have to set up is things like block explorers, right? And a block explorer is enormously valuable. Like, how many times have you used the Solana block explorer and just been like, this is the worst piece of tech I've ever seen? Right,
one time, because powerful. The next time I was like, oh yeah, I'm just never going to do that again.
I mean, there's several competing block explorers and they all suck.
Really? There's more than SolScan now?
Dude, there's SolScan, but you can also do SolanaBeach.io.
Oh, I have used Solana Beach.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe two. I used both and they sucked, and then I left.
Yeah, but there's other ones. There's like Solana.fm that's like trying to compete there, and then I think there's even like another more traditional block explorer that's still pretty bad. The Solana block explorers are terrible. Everybody knows this. And it was the point where like when the Solana, like when the slow wallet hack happened the other day, like there was a great tweet. It was like, Your Honor, my client couldn't possibly be the Solana hacker. He can barely use the block explorer. Right. A block explorer is a big deal, but then also to power the block explorers, you need like RPC endpoints. So like you can set up MetaMask today to transact on the testnet for ETHW.
Oh, nice.
Like,
okay,
that's crazy. That's and I'm sure solid. You can do it for ETH Classic too, but like, there's literally nothing to do there. And so like the fact that like Uniswap will work out of the box, right, means that like someone can fork like the Uniswap front end to add a little button for ETHW, and you're good to go, right? Like try swapping anything on, and especially like the first time you swap on a different network, you're a little worried. You might have to like set approvals or something. Like, you don't know what this website is and like what it's asking you to sign. It's really good to just be able to like build off of stuff that already has people's like habits and trust there. In fact, you won't need new approvals, right? Because it's the old Uniswap. I just think like, I think ETHW,
even if the chain, even if the chain is different, chain ID is different, you don't have to approve again.
I think because it's a fork of the state.
Because even if you use it on like state, Avalanche,
right? Yeah, on Avalanche you have to change it because it doesn't inherit that state.
Yeah,
and the chain ID, like it doesn't change for past transactions. It just changes for new ones at like whatever difficulty. Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of bullish. I think ETHW is trading at around. This is really interesting to me. ETHW is trading at around. Yesterday it was like $50. I think it's probably still around there, which gives it like a little bit over 3% of where ETH was trading yesterday. Now this is really interesting to me. Lido staked ETH, STETH, is trading at like 98 cents on the dollar to your ETH.
Yeah.
So the Lido staked ETH plus ETHW is worth more than an ETH right now. And that's very really interesting. Yeah. Versus like at least on Poloniex versus on like Bitfinex, I think they mechanically have to sum to one with the chain split token.
That's so you could argue,
you could argue Lido staked ETH, either Lido staked ETH is overpriced or regular ETH is underpriced. Or ETHW is overpriced.
Or ETHW is overpriced. I mean, that's
ETHW is definitely overpriced, and not financial advice. But
definitely not financial advice.
Speaking of over underpriced, or you want to keep riffing on this? Is there anything else?
No, I have nothing else to hit on this. I think our listeners should be aware that there are a lot of games being played here. And the last thing you want to do is be caught in the crossfire unless you really know what you're doing. You want to understand block by block, transaction by transaction, where the incentives are, who is going to gain by certain things happening, right? So I think what we're trying to do is like lay out a story, like paint the picture really of like who the different players are, what they might want to do, what the first few blocks might look like. We talked about that last time. Nothing else to really hit, but this is really not a finished story by any stretch of the imagination, right? It's just getting started, really.
It's just getting started. I mean, I think things are going to be all over the place. Right? I think the pricing of ETHW is going to be actually all over the place. It might fluctuate between, I guess, is less than 1% of the value of proof of stake ETH and maybe 6 to 7% at the high. But I think it'll last for like a block or two.
That's it, and then it goes to zero.
No, I think it'll bounce around quite a bit in that range.
I
think initially it will. I think initially it'll be hard for people to like actually move the tokens and sell them. And so I think on these like, I think you'll see like a bit of a discount between like perpetuals products and like if anybody actually allows you to trade spot ETHW, I think it'll trade higher there, I guess, because I think a lot of people are going to be looking to hedge out their exposure like as soon as the merge actually happens.
Yeah. Right.
But I think, you know, and then I think like, yeah, there's a lot of games being played. There's a lot of people with like interests, right? These markets are not super liquid. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you can imagine a world where like the miners are like, they have the incentive to pump the price of ETHW if it's roughly.
Yeah. Oh, they do. Absolutely.
To do it.
Yeah.
Just to like, I mean, just to like create the public perception that like this is going to kill ETC. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if the markets are
you saw this,
enough,
dude.
Like,
you saw this with Bitcoin Cash when the fork happened. It pumped so hard.
Really?
People were really like, "Oh, 1 BCH equals 1 BTC." They were pretty close at one point. And obviously, we know what happened after that. But I think there's a good chance that's what happens here. I don't think it gets anywhere near 50%, but I could see it get to 10%, maybe even higher. Depending on how much force these people have. If Justin Sun is really going to put all of his might behind this thing, then, you know, who knows?
Wow. I didn't realize BCH pumped. I remember Coinbase at the time saying like something like, yeah, you don't worry, like we'll give you access to your BCH.
Yeah, dude, Jihan Wu, man. This guy was a killer. Yeah, because like he had all of Bitmain, you know, basically saying like, all right, we're gonna mine this chain. So, yeah, and then
you want to hear something
people saw that. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you finish. I'm like distracted. But
yeah, no, and then people just basically copied that and made 1 million Bitcoin forks, and they all went to zero, and then that
Bitcoin
went to
SV.
zero. Yeah, Bitcoin SV, Gold, Unlimited. So many. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this I find super interesting. If you supply ETH on Aave right now,
mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
On the Ethereum mainnet,
mm-hmm.
you get 2.75% APY.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you supply it on Arbitrum,
mm-hmm.
you get 0.18% APY.
Nice. People are comfy in Arbitrum.
No, because on Arbitrum, if you're like lending ETH out there, people don't really want to borrow it because when the merge happens, they don't know if they're going to be able to get both staked ETH and work ETH out of it.
Oh, because it's layer 2.
Like, there's no way layer. Right. I would be stunned if layer 2's like settled to ETHW at all. Right. I mean,
has there been any comment on that?
I don't think so. But I mean, Optimism is literally like trying to convince everyone that they're like saving the world and the rainforest. Like they're not gonna mess with ETHW.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it seems like most of the big players are not going to get involved at all. Now the ones that are the exchanges because they're extremely incentivized to do so. So adding to the list here, Poloniex confirmed will list. Bitfinex confirmed will have these CSTs, chain split tokens, where basically if you put in ETH, you get equal parts of both tokens. They can trade freely on the open market. And then to get your ETH back, you have to provide equal parts of both. So that's their approach. Coinbase this past week, a couple days ago, said they're open to listing ETHW assets. Real clarity on what that means. But I mean, we've been saying this.
It could mean a lot of things, right? It could mean that they're
mean a lot,
ETHW Aave, right? Or Shiba Inu, right?
Exactly.
I mean, Shiba Inu chaotic good. I could see them just rolling with ETHW as they're like, you know, they're launching like Shiba chain, right? But maybe you'll have to bridge from ETHW.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, most of these chains don't support native assets, or most of these exchanges don't support native assets of other chains, right? So it's like, even if you buy Avalanche,
SPL tokens on Coinbase,
SPL tokens is impossible. Can you buy SPL tokens? Like, what can you buy? Like,
Oh, dude, yeah, you can buy some real
You
bangers.
can buy,
You can buy
you can buy
Orca.
Samo, you can buy Orca. Yeah, well, I can't. I'm restricted from all this, so I don't know.
No, on Coinbase,
But
on Coinbase US, you can buy like stuff like
I
this.
know,
You can
but
even buy
as an
you can buy
employee of the
mango.
company,
You
bro.
don't want to buy mango. Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Wow, mango, man. Mango is the last coin I would ever buy outside of Serum. I think there's
Dude,
only two
could
coins.
get worse, man. What about Orca?
What's Orca trading at now? It's got to be less than $1, right?
Well, it's not super liquid, so like sometimes like my guess is like you have certain people that are like trying to replicate certain indexes, right? So for example, like you'll have like maybe a Solana ecosystem like index like token that's maybe it's on chain, maybe it's off chain, it's trying to replicate or whatever. And so it'll buy and sell Orca depending on like which way Orca moves relative to the rest of the market. And because these markets are pretty illiquid, like the market makers will just like move the price like substantially like when they see that someone's coming in to buy any substantial amount of Orca.
Nice.
It's at 83 cents. It's down from
solid.
Oh man. We think the all-time high on Orca was
20, 21, 50, $20, 21, 50,
on CoinGecko.
22.
I see like 1850, 1879.
Oh no way, dude! It went higher than that. As somebody who was watching the chart every second during that time, I have seen Orca above $20.
You think that model's over? You think it's like just like this is not merge content, but you think that model's over?
Cooked. It's cooked. It's so cooked.
I don't know, man. I still see people doing it. I still see
buying
like
DeFi tokens
like DeFi
or
protocols.
farming.
I still see DeFi protocols like doing this yield farming thing. Yeah.
But like
Goldfinch. Goldfinch is still doing this. You can still earn like 30% on your stable coins or something. I don't know who Goldfinch is. It's a borrowland. It's just like a borrowland market. But it's like 0% APY, but it's like 30% if you like,
if you get the native token
rewards.
Oh yeah. I don't know, man. Who exactly is doing this? Like, I didn't. If you haven't learned your lesson now, bro, you deserve
another venue
0.
for MEV.
Yeah, everything is MEV. But yeah, I don't know, man. If you haven't learned your lesson at this point, like, you deserve to go to 0. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, tough scenes. Okay, I don't know. You see, you think every other exchange will also support ETH proof of work or proof of work ETH or in ETHW assets, maybe?
I mean,
because from a technical perspective, right, they don't really need to do that much. There's still an EVM chain.
I mean, if you look at Coinbase, for example, right, like they've added support for native assets for a lot of this stuff, right? Like I think they have, they already had native Cosmos, right, and that's like a substantially different chain. They already had, and then I think they added support for like Rose. I'm not sure what that is.
Oasis,
Oasis,
Oasis.
Also, I want to say they added support for Near.
Nice. Strong.
And so, they made this acquisition a while back of like an infrastructure company that
Bison Trails.
Bison Trails, yeah.
Great company.
And Bison Trails was providing things like RPC endpoints, like
staking,
backends, staking, now it's sort of become, I think, Coinbase Cloud. And that's really good, right? That was like a really, really smart acquisition because it enabled them to level up like all of like to however many blockchains they wanted to support, right? And then at this point, it's like no longer like technical; it's really just like legal primarily. And like whether or not something's say decentralized enough for them to feel comfortable listing it, at least in the US. And like that's the argument behind like not listing say Harmony, like the one token, other than it only going down, because they don't really have many validators. So anyway, we've seen similar messaging coming out of like FTX, right? Where they're like, yeah, we're considering it, right? Like it's in everyone's best interest to list these things, especially if they're super volatile, because that induces like a lot of volume, right? And if there's like cross centralized exchange arbitrage, like that just like juices volumes for everyone. And, there will be, right? Like there's going to be like a lot of games arguably like, well, not arguably, but like potentially there could be like market manipulation, right? Just in any like super liquid like asset class, like that can happen. And as a result of all that, like you're just going to see like wildly different prices across different exchanges for a little while.
Yeah.
And a lot of, well, don't get caught in the crossfire, basically.
Yeah. Do not get caught in the crossfire.
But I think everyone's going to list it. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to not. Who do you think is least likely to list it?
Dude, if there is going to be a least likely to list, I would say Coinbase. But it seems like they're open.
I mean, from the centralized exchanges, I think everyone's going to list it. From the layer 2s, I think no one's going to list it. Like, and then
no
I
chance.
think from the Oracle providers, that's where it gets question marky, right? Like, do you think Chainlink is going to support Oracles on proof of work ETH? I think so.
Yeah. So well, what is the incentive there? Like, are they going to get paid by people who use the oracles on proof of work chain to provide that kind of data, that off-chain data? And then if they do get paid, there has to be enough economic activity on the chain for the people paying them to want those data feeds.
Yeah.
So they really relies on there being activity on chain. I would assume that getting in touch with the Chainlink people and saying, hey, provide like some basic infrastructure for us should not be that difficult, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, but it takes Chainlink time to add new chains. Like I want to say they only recently added support for Solana, like in the last like 6 months or so, which is kind of puzzling, right? I don't know why, right? The thing is, Chainlink is a little bit like any like play to earn game. Like their tokenomics are kind of fucked, and so any kind of token sink they can create where like people do spend the link token is net positive for them. The thing that they're gonna have to do is like nullify like all the existing link on proof of work ETH and like create like a new like link to or link W token that like that's the one that counts, and then someone's gonna have to enable a bridge. You think Synapse is gonna support proof of work ETH?
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah, I would say most players do, right? Yeah, I mean, dude, they all support the most random shit. So yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I think, some random like Telegram chats I'm in, people are pretty surprised that everybody is just so on board with proof of stake and has been. I've actually, because I feel like for the longest time, I was one of the few people that was like, proof of work is pretty cool. There's some merit there. It's kind of cool. And then everybody was just like, proof of stake, it just makes sense. And now that all this stuff is happening, people are starting to ask questions, and like even some like random Telegram chats that people are like, oh, like I'm questioning this. It's like, oh yeah, well, not everything had been fully planned out, which is fine. Like software is hard and big and complex, and this is not just software. This is an economic and social problem too. But it is curious to see that more and more people are starting to ask questions and starting to just be a little bit more skeptical and even open-minded to kind of what else is possible or what else like could happen.
Yeah, it is really interesting to see. Yeah, like I've been shocked at the number of people that are starting to come around to it. Like similar to you, I guess. Like it's a little bit like we're all getting on a spaceship and we're going to Mars, and we've been planning this mission for 5 years, and now that like we've filled up the rocket, people are starting to ask some questions.
Yeah.
And it's
pretty
like,
much.
You can imagine being the guy running the rocket. You're like, now you guys are asking questions. Then some of them are like, maybe we'll just stay here on Earth. Can't be like all bad.
Yeah. I would say it's closer to like, we've already left and we are in space. And then a few people in the back are like, wait, guys, are we sure we want to go to Mars? And the front's like, yo,
maybe Earth has some merit too.
Yeah. Oh man, couldn't you just stay with all those guys that forked the Earth in the first place?
Yeah, I know they forked off to like Mercury. And you're like, no, like literally nothing to do on Mercury. There's no entertainment. There's no music. We don't have
it's
internet.
Frozen over there, bro.
Like,
it's not great.
Yeah. They're down bad in Mercury. But like as soon as people are like anti-Mars, everyone's like, Mercury resurgence, anyone?
Yeah. Oh man.
And I mean that is kind of the final point of this ETHW like open letter is like ETHW doesn't need to exist is what they're rebutting here. And they're like, yeah, but like it already does, right? Like that's what we have is currently proof of work Ethereum. Like this isn't like we're setting out to build a new thing here. We just believe that the thing that we have is worth maintaining.
Yeah. I think that it's a very interesting point. Like it's really hard to try and attribute any kind of intent to this because like you said, it very well could be a group of miners or people that are better at writing than miners that are just laying out this argument. And in reality, what's going to happen is that people like exactly what we're talking about. People are start to ask questions. People say, hey, maybe I'll buy more ETH right now and then just get the airdrop and hold it. And that provides exit liquidity for the people that want exit liquidity. And this is like just a whole game to stir up exit liquidity. But we spent a lot of time today, I think, laying out the reasons why it should exist and why these people might have actually valid claims. I don't think you and I are necessarily saying that we agree with everything or even any of the things that they're saying.
Man, I just think that I change my mind daily as to what I agree with. You know, like I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in circumstances like this, the social consensus is way more important, right? And I think that the social consensus has come to. I actually heard Vitalik say this, right? In a chat with Brian Armstrong. It's like a Coinbase podcast. I think it's public now, so I can say this stuff. But basically, they were asking, like, why did you what was the first thing that sold you on proof of stake, right? And Vitalik's point was basically that, like, proof of stake is a much harder coordination problem because there are different, like, sets of people that could be like massive stakers and like big centralized parties and like there's more coordination involved, right? He was like, my thinking completely changed on that when I realized that like that's what humans are. Like it basically, proof of stake basically gives that power back to people to basically say like we are capable of making these coordination decisions, and like the level of like coordinating upon like shelling point is a term that people love to use in crypto, and like that's what Bitcoin is, right? Like the fundamental consensus layer is the shelling point. But he was like, well, we can actually develop things that like change and like progress and, you know, become other things. And he was like, that's what really sold me on proof of stake, is that as a community, as a group of individual participants who are coming at this from their own incentives, but as a whole collective, like we can design things that become better, right? And he was like, that's really what sold me on proof of stake. I forgot where I started on this point, but I think that's a really valid point that he makes. And so my thinking on this is that as a social consensus, right, we've basically all agreed that proof of stake is how we want to take this thing. And I think it's good that there's a small subset of people that want to preserve the initial chain and are asking the questions, us included. We've done 6 episodes on this now. We could have just gone along and not asked any questions. But in the end, I do think that the proof of stake chain is the one that's going to win because it's the one that has the social consensus, has Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation and all this stuff, and so many like adversarial participants who want to come together and make this thing work because they're individually incentivized to do so. So yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, I think of it like a Venn diagram, right? Like there's one circle, which is like, it's good that proof of stake it's good that the merge is happening and that the vast majority of economic activity is going to happen on the proof of stake network. In the other circle, you have a proof of stake or a proof of work driven smart contract platform is a valuable thing for humanity. And then you have the middle ground, which is like, you can be there. You can believe both of those things, right? And that's part of why I'm so hyped about all of this, is that like, we're seeing people planning for different outcomes here, and that's nothing but upside.
Nothing but upside. All
Up
right.
only.
Up only. All right. You got anything else, Matt?
No, I think this was good for our second to last merge deep dive, third to last. We'll
third
see.
to last until we do 3 more just to get to 10.
Yeah, the postmortem. We'll go transaction by transaction. Actually, that will be an interesting one to look at the first couple of blocks and see what people are doing.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun. Actually, we should make that a postmortem episode. Look at the first block, go through each transaction.
Yeah.
All right,
dude. I really want to add some graffiti to that first block.
Oh yeah, me too, dude. There was an auction today. Again, just anybody who's still here, please tune out because I'm going to talk about Coinbase NFT. So there's a Bill Murray auction. It's happening right now, actually, on Coinbase NFT, right? And I was talking to the people there. They were like, a bunch of people are going to try and come in and just place a bid at the very minimum, knowing that they're not going to get it, just because they like want to be on chain as like being recorded as like having bid for the very first Bill Murray NFT ever. And then immediately the very first transaction, some guys bids like 70th or something. It's like, damn, bro, way to just screw this for everybody. This thing started an hour ago. Hey, it's at 26 ETH. Not bad.
I cannot explain how little I would not even pay the gas for a Bill Murray NFT, like except for in a speculative way, right?
Like, you get to go to dinner with Bill. You don't want to have dinner with Bill.
You do?
You get to go to dinner, and I think you get to blow up a golf course like Caddyshack with Bill.
Wait, really?
Yeah. That's kind of funny. Hey, look, I got you. All right, so
all right, I'll bid like 0.1.
Okay, there we go.
No,
right.
0.05. Because then I might have to go to LA.
Yeah. True. No, it's at 26, dude. You got to bid 27. All right. Matt's gonna meet Bill Murray. Congrats, Matt. All right, everybody. Thanks for that chill zone. We will be back later in the week with a recap of everything that happened. This has been part 6 of our Merge series. We'll talk to you soon. Until then, stay decent.
None of this was financial advice, legal advice, investment advice, or any other kind of advice. If you're looking for advice, you are definitely in the wrong place. Until next time, stay decent.